coming into the fight, everyone was picking Leon Edwards. And for good reason. We know what Belal does, and it seemed like Leon was just going to be too good on the feet. The fight starts, and you have round one. Belal is able to take Leon down, and he's able to out-wrestle him. At the end of round one, the thoughts were, okay, Belal won the first round, but he's going to have to now do the same rinse and repeat for the next 20 minutes for rounds 2, 3, 4, and 5. So I still think Leon's in the driver's seat to win the fight because Belal's not going to hurt him on the feet. It's not to say that Belal's not going to land anything. Like, he can land. The question is, can Belal actually hurt Leon? Can he do any damage to Leon on the feet? Or is it just some small offense, some small punches just for the sake of getting in for the takedown, and then doing the same thing for rounds 2, 3, 4, and 5. That's what Belal needed to do. So after one round, still feeling really good for Leon. After Belal does it again in the second round, things start to shift in my mind. And I'm not thinking in terms of Belal now has to do this for the entire fight. I'm thinking more like, well, Belal now banked 2 rounds. All he needs is one more round. And then the other rounds, he just has to not get knocked out. He just has to keep trying to do the wrestling. And even if he loses, then he's still in a good shape winning 3 out of 5 rounds. Then, after round 3, we saw the reversal of, instead of Belal winning the round in unimpressive lay-and-pray sort of fashion, Leon was sort of proving a point to Belal by him getting the same position that Belal had and basically taking the entire round, trying to get a choke. There was maybe one point where he actually had a crank, but there was nothing too serious. And at the end of the round, I'm thinking, Leon, this is a very risky strategy because, yeah, you're showing that you are just as good of a martial artist. You're probably a better martial artist because on the feet, there is always a risk of you doing more damage than Belal. And now you've proven that you can reverse Belal's position, which he also did in the second round, right? There's Leon Edwards proved that he can reverse the position. He can get up from the takedown up from Belal. It doesn't happen very quickly. It takes some time to do it, but he gets up. He reverses position. He's able to turn Belal onto the fence. He's able to take Belal down. He's able to get in a dominant position on Belal. And when Belal has Leon on his back, Belal's not able to do anything. So in ways, Leon is proving, hey, I'm a better martial artist than you because not only do I have the potential to do more damage to you on the feet, but I can also do everything that you're doing to me right back to you. So, okay, that's a good point. I'm glad that Leon won the moral battle, but sitting at the end of round 3, you're down 2-1, and you're leaving yourself no room for error because you still have to win rounds 4 and rounds 5 unless you're going to get a knockout. And it just didn't seem like that was what Leon was trying to do. It seemed like Leon never got out of first gear. So I think that what Leon was doing was a very risky strategy. He took round 3. He's like, I'm going to prove the moral point to you. I'm gonna win the round doing what you did to me. I'm going to do it right back to you. But then what the smarter plan would have been is instead of getting this moral victory would have been, okay, you get the dominant position. Get back to your feet, pull away from him, try to land some ground and pound if you can't, let Belal stand up. The more time that both of you are on the feet, the more time you have to go for that knockout, which Leon's best path to winning was the knockout. So, okay, Leon banks round 3, and then in rounds 4 and 5, you basically get more of the same of Belal doing to Leon again what Leon did in round 3, but Belal did in rounds 1 and 2. And yes, Leon was able to reverse the position, I think, in almost every round. Maybe round 1 he didn't. Maybe he did. I don't really remember every time Leon reversed it, but over the course of the fight, majority of the fight was spent with Belal in quote-unquote dominant position. And at some point in each round, Leon would reverse, and that's when things got a little bit exciting. But it wasn't a good strategy for Leon because instead of trying to win rounds by being in dominant position, Leon needed to, when he had the opportunity to break away, he needed to break away and he needed to get back to the feet. That was the obvious way for him to win. And the one time he tried to land something significant with the ground and pound, he totally sliced open Belal's face. And at the end of the 5 rounds, that position where we feel like Leon is the better martial artist. And I totally stand by that. I don't think Belal is a better martial artist than Leon. I just think that Belal had a strategy where he wasn't trying to do damage to Leon. He just was trying to get into the dominant position. And that's kind of how Belal Muhammad fights. Okay, like when he fought Gilbert Burns, it wasn't really like that because Burns was injured and he was able to do more damage with his. Belal was able to do more with his volume against the hurt Burns, but this wasn't that same type of thing. This was Belal throwing some pillow punches. Not that he never connected. I actually liked what Belal did when Leon was trying to cover up using like sort of like the like inverted arm like elbow thing, trying to cover his face and just stay at a safe range while he looked to land something powerful on Belal, and then Belal would just like swing the uppercut inside and hit him. Now, I don't think Belal was doing a lot of damage with the uppercut. I don't think Belal was doing a lot of damage with anything he threw. It was all a matter of Leon just not throwing enough punches back, not throwing enough kicks back, not throwing enough of consequence to just take the fight. I think that if Leon would have landed one big punch on the feet, it could have changed everything. He could have landed the big punch, and then he could have got a 10-8 round. He could have put Belal in a position where Belal is like, oh man, he gets knocked back, he gets knocked down. Leon pounces. Maybe he ends the fight. Maybe again he says no, stand up again, and then he gets more confident with his striking and he goes and lands another power shot. That was the path to Leon winning. To Leon just saying, hey, here's the geography, like Teddy Atlas always says, here's the geography of the fight. We're gonna operate in my geography, and he didn't do that. He acquiesced to the terms that Belal Muhammad wanted. Belal wanted a fight that happened in the wrestling territory, closer range. Leon never pushed the range further away to proper punching, kicking range. He was okay. He acquiesced to Belal's request to have the fight at the wrestling range in a little bit closer. And then when Leon was on top, he never tried to pull away and say, get back up. He never tried to stand the fight back up. He was like, okay, I'll grind out the round the same way you did. I'm not going to get a choke on you. You're not going to get a choke on me. I'm not going to get a submission on you the same way you didn't get one on me. And ultimately what happens is Belal just wins the fight 3-2, or on one judge's scorecard, he won the fight where the fifth round didn't even go to him, but 2 of the 3 judges, I think, saw it the way most people saw it, where Leon won round 3 with the wrestling and the dominant position, and Leon won round 5 with the big elbow, and Belal won 1, 2, and 4, and that's just how it is. Leon is the better martial artist in my book because Leon showed he can hurt Belal. Leon is more dangerous on the feet than Belal. Belal can land on the feet, but he can't hurt Leon on the feet. Leon got closer to a choke than Belal ever did. And Leon showed many times throughout the fight that he is capable of getting up from a dominant position, and he's capable of reversing a dominant position. Whereas Belal, when he was in a bad position, when he had Leon on his back, he never made a move to get up. He couldn't get up at all. So who's the better overall martial artist? I think for sure Leon is, but this isn't the first time in history that we've seen someone win the title without necessarily being the altogether better martial artist. We've seen it many times before, and we're going to see it many times in the future. At the end of the day, this is a sport, and as much as guys like Nate Diaz want to say, hey, this is a fight, or there are some fighters who say that more, hey, this is a fight and we're going to go out and punch each other in the face, this is also a sport, and if you win 3 rounds out of 5 rounds with no 10-8s, you're going to win the fight regardless of who's the better martial artist, regardless of who is better at reversing position, who's better at taking advantage of certain things, who's more dangerous. Danger only comes into play if you put the fight where you need it to be in order to damage the other fighter. But Leon never did that. He never got out of first gear. And it leaves you with sort of a, bland taste in your mouth where you're like, okay, well, now we have this guy, Belal Muhammad, as the champ, which He won the fight. We're not trying to say Belal didn't win the fight. He won it. Now, I don't agree with John Anik, and his horrible heel turn really just bothers me, that John Anik is now turning into such a heel against the fans. And he writes on Twitter that, oh, what a brilliant, incredible I'm paraphrasing, but he said the word brilliant. A brilliant performance by Belal. That wasn't a brilliant performance. The only thing good about that performance from Belal was that he won the fight. Right? That's the only take that you can say is, well, Belal did what he had to do to win the fight. And I can respect that because now he has doors that open to him as the champion. But you're not going to create so many new fans outside of the ones who are rooting for you for, reasons like, we're from the same background, or we do the same thing, or we have likened interests. Like, yeah, I understand he has a lot of fans in that regard. But in terms of fight fans liking him, who don't have something specifically in common with him, unless you're from Chicago or you're from the religious areas that that his background is. Nobody's really gonna enjoy watching him fight because he doesn't do anything that brings on more fans. There's a big difference between the wrestling style of Belal Muhammad and the other guys who've come before him. First of all, I don't want to hear any comparisons to Khabib because Khabib was constantly working to do damage, and he was relentless. Belal was not relentless, anything like Khabib. I don't even want to hear it. Belal was like, okay, get into a decent position, and I'll just lay here. I'm not going to get a submission. I'm not going to do any damage. He did no damage on Leon in the fight. And Khabib was, I'm going to maul you. I'm going to drag you around the cage until you are like, oh my God, like what? Like you just quit on yourself. You give up. You don't think you can win. Khabib was getting submissions all the time. He could get the triangle. He could get the choke. He could do ground and pound. Belal's not doing any of that. Nothing like Khabib. Then you want to compare him to Usman. Usman's style was not to get in a dominant position and lay there. Usman didn't lay with the jiu-jitsu. Usman's style was pick a guy up, dump him down, do some sort of like lighter ground and pound. Okay, not anything too crazy. The guy gets up, and then you dump him again, and you play that clinch game against the fence where he did the stupid foot stomps, and it's just an all-out active blitz of pressure on the guy. Whereas Belal was like, you get the takedown, and then you lay in the dominant position on top of him. Belal is more like, I'll get the takedown and then I'll jujitsu you without any real threat, but I'll be in a dominant jujitsu position. Usman was more like, I will threaten the wrestling against you the entire time. Neither is like particularly riveting for a fight fan, but there's a difference between those two things. Whereas at least Usman is doing it again and again and again and again, and Belal is just getting the position once and that's it. And then you want to compare it to Colby's wrestling when Colby was good. And Colby's wrestling was, again, more similar to Usman's, but less up against the fence, really. I guess he was more similar to a mauling style where where it was an exhausting style. And Colby would also throw crazy volume. And there was also the added factor of Colby, is a bit of an idiot. And he talks a lot of stupidity. And he's going to do antics during the fight. And there's a little bit of that sort of exciting factor of, okay, what is Colby going to say? What is Colby going to do? And what is, Colby's going to be chirping in your ear as there's nothing you can do. That wasn't how this fight felt watching Belal Muhammad. This was Belal banking the rounds, doing the bare minimum he had to, getting the dominant position and sitting there. He's not getting any new fans with this kind of performance. And like we said at the beginning, Leon is the better martial artist. Belal is the welterweight champion of the world. This is the Straight Up Fight Network.